Hi, I'm Banu Özkazanç-Pan, and I'm here with my co-editor-in-chief colleague, Alison Pullen. And we're here to tell you about the #1 women's studies journal, Gender, Work, and Organization, including some of the things that we've been doing during the pandemic and some of the things that we're hoping to accomplish as we move forward with the journal.
Yeah, we've always been a journal that publishes critical studies of gender, work and organisation, but we're probably one of the few journals where you can do feminist work in its diversity and praxis, where you don't have to justify our existence.
Absolutely. And as our impact factor attests to this, we are growing our community, are growing our importance, and we are doing it by staying true to our feminist values and building a global community of feminist scholarship that attends to gender, race, and other relations of difference, and doing so by practicing an ethics of care in our publications.
Yeah, and it's always great, isn't it, Banu, when we get a PhD student or early career scholar coming through the system and publishing their first article in the journal for their very first time.
It's absolutely been rewarding. And one of the most important and proud moments for us at the journal has been in the creation of a feminist archive that has documented what has happened to women's lives across the globe during the pandemic. And I'm sure everyone would like to know how we responded to the pandemic, Alison, as a journal, as a community.
Yeah, well, we were locked down in the US and in Australia, being very fortunate to be in a position of being in lockdown during when the pandemic first struck. And we decided to put out a call for papers, looking at the ways in which the pandemic was affecting our community across the globe. And we were really struck with the structural inequalities that our community were facing. And we've currently published over 160 papers and continue to do so to this day.
And on that point of inequities, one of the most pressing issues that we've seen, not only the pandemic, but the racial inequities, particularly in the aftermath of the George Floyd murder and the growing social movement that took shape not only across the US, but globally of Black Lives Matter, we as a journal felt an absolute commitment to making sure that experiences and topics of race and racism were addressed. So we put out a call for papers, which we are very proud to say we were the first journal to do so. And this call remains open as we know that race and racism continue to be very important topics for our journal and for our community. And we welcome research and writing on this topic. And in this regard, we would love to see some papers here.
Yeah, in relation to that point, Banu, what do you think one of the most influential recent papers that we've published in this space that focuses on addressing social justice?
Yeah, and we are incredibly fortunate and feel privileged to have published this paper by professors Myrtle Bell, Daphne Berry, Joy Leopold, and Stella Nkomo on making Black Lives Matter in academia, a Black feminist call for collective action against anti-Blackness in the academy. This was such an important piece that I believe everybody should be reading because it holds us accountable as scholars, as academics, as activists, in making sure that we continue to call out anti-Blackness in the academy and that we take action to end its deep-seated reasons that continue to create systemic biases against colleagues and students. And in this regard, we believe this paper is really vanguarding where we want to see our journal move forward to.
Yeah, and they certainly focus the emphasis on creating alliances and working across and beyond borders. And I guess that's what we are trying to do as a journal too.
Absolutely. And as a final sort of thought in our conversation, Alison, what would we say to those colleagues, scholars, students who would like to think about submitting work to us? What kind of papers are we encouraging right now?
Well, we are encouraging global contributions, particularly addressing social groups or empirical context, which we haven't published before. We're very committed to growing our interdisciplinary focus to look at the ways in which other disciplines inform the work that we do around work and organisation. Also looking at the structural inequalities that inform the debates around intersectionality. Also attracting papers on global activist movements, and given that the progress that we are making in the journal and on gender and race, we are also facing backlash from some communities. So we're particularly keen to create a space at GWO where people can report on the backlashes that they are facing for doing the work that we hold central at the journal.
Absolutely. And as we have seen throughout the pandemic, issues of care and caregiving are now coming to the forefront as gendered and racialized occupational experiences. And we at the journal are quite keen on making sure that we are at the forefront of publishing work that addresses these gendered and racialized experiences around the care economy, as well as some of the ways in which we're seeing the future of work take shape in terms of the looming inequities that we are likely to see across gender, race, and other relations. On that note, we would love to have everyone contribute to our growing community, to the body of scholarship that is gender, work, and organization. And we'd welcome any ways that you want to connect and contribute to the journal. We would welcome that. So thank you very much.
Thank you.